Hi everyone, welcome to day 20 of our writing workshop. It's a journaling workshop designed for anti-anxiety. What do I mean by that? Writing, handwriting, graphotherapy and other way of questioning things in a rational manner can truly create a way to find calmness, find a way to feel more composed and move forward. So this conversation every day we are having for last 20 days. Today is the 20th day, and what we are trying to do is we are trying to build a parallel thinking mechanism which can allow us, all of us, to move forward, to go beyond our limited, fixed ways of thinking. Now with every question, with every day's conversation, I try and build a mechanism for you to think differently, for you to question your ways of thinking, for you to look at your arguments and your conflicts and your ways of really putting up your point towards other people, and for you to look at your own thinking, your own behavior. Now you might have noticed, if you have been on this process, that I am not necessarily giving a specific solution. I'm not saying, oh, if you think in a negative manner, you must think in a positive manner. That is not the objective of this process. This process is designed for you to take control, for you to see the gap between your trigger and your reactions, and turn that into a process of having a trigger and a thoughtful response. Now how do we do that? By creating a gap, if possible by widening the gap, if possible even breathing in that gap. So, I look at this situation as a slow motion movie sequence. Or if you have seen these superhero movies, somebody who is really fast, like lightning fast, when that person moves with this lightning speed, everything around him, which is normal and at a normal speed for all of us, for the superhero who is really fast, he can see the gaps. So you might have seen the scenes where this fast person goes and moves three things and other people are moving in slow motion till the superhero figures it out. Now that is the super capacity we are talking about. So when you build a gap between your trigger and your reaction, between your trigger and your obvious way, automatic way of behaving which you have right now, what do? We literally buy you time, we buy you space, to make choices which are right now not available to you. Okay, so that's what we are trying to do. So I have a few questions before I move ahead. One question is about, I really get excited and I want to take actions. I think Mohit asked me this question. I want to take actions and I want to move forward. I feel enthusiastic about it, including journaling. But as I start moving forward, I feel stuck in my own tracks. I lose enthusiasm. I do not feel connected to the process. I don't enjoy the process much. And then after some time, I feel guilty and I want to get back to it. So Mohit, in today's conversation, for all of us, for our discussion, I'm going to speak about process versus results. And I will come and address this point, but I want all of you to think about it. When you are looking at following a regime, following, picking up a new habit, following a decision that you have made, and if that demands you to do something on a daily basis, and if you're faltering, if you're not able to do it, one, what should one do? Second, what can we do to incorporate that habit formation, and more than habit formation, a sense of commitment towards the goals that we want to achieve. So we will come and speak about it. I think Priya asked me this question about dreams, and I get these dreams which are recurring and I'm not able to get rid of those dreams. Can we do something? So what happens when you dream in a certain manner? At a subconscious level, at an unknown level, a level that is not available to you on a daily basis, your brain is processing something all the time. Now that processing goes to a deeper level mainly when you don't address it. When something that is becoming an urgency on a regular day, if you don't address it, it goes at a deeper level and it builds communication when you're sleeping, when you're not resisting, basically when you're not consciously available to do your bit and you're letting the process happen. Now, dream analysis is a different stream altogether, so I won't comment about what that dream means and why it is reoccurring in your life, but I would say read about it, find a dream analyst, and that could be a great way for you to figure it out. If I have to comment about a recurring dream, I would say it's a recurring pattern. And anytime we have a recurring pattern, the roots are in our behavior, and we definitely require to look at it, change it, alter it. If we don't do any of it, then these dreams take over, these patterns take over, and we become slaves to these patterns. Instead of we figuring out how we want to function and making different choices, we remain slaves to these patterns. Okay? Before I get into today's topic, if you are new on this platform, if you're new to this conversation, how to begin? I know some people are joining in now and they will be watching this replay. So before I jump in and confuse you further, let me tell you how to begin. First, you will watch the video that is playing right now, and you can start today and you can do day 28th, day 21st, and then go and start with day 1. We have created a tracker. As people are joining in between, we realize that you need to keep you make sure that you do all the assignments. So we have created a tracker. Once you register and once you receive an emailer for the day, you can also find the tracker, make a print of it, and just simply start ticking the days that you have completed, for you to have complete clarity about how many days you have covered, what is missing, what you have to go back and complete. So it will just come handy. We are also making sure that you receive all the resources. So all you require to do is go through the process. So watch the video, do S-stroke, which is the graphotherapy flow of thought stroke, and then you would come and do the response to this question in a handwritten format. No digital journaling, literally no mental journaling also. If some people are thinking about the question and they're like, oh, I'm going to ponder about it, and as long as I think about it, it'll figure it out. No. You have to get to your notepad, you have to get to that printout, and you have to physically write. All of you will realize, those who are doing it already realizing, but if you give it a shot for 7 days, you will realize how powerful this process of merely writing is. Like in the morning, I realized I was feeling overwhelmed about something. I took my journal and I started writing what is overwhelming me. And I literally wrote a page or two, I think page and a half. And suddenly at the end of it, I felt relieved, more relaxed. I had articulated my thoughts, and that thought which was bothering me, which had kind of a hold on me as a recurring pattern, just didn't occur since then. I didn't even realize. Now as I'm talking about it, I realize that didn't come to my mind at all. Now that's what happens. It's literally like removing something and leaving it behind. If you keep it in your mind and if you think about it and you figure it out, it doesn't work. So don't do it. Literally get to the process and do it in the manner it is designed, it is requested, it is enforced, whatever you want to think. But just make sure that you do the handwritten journaling. Okay? Now, people who are not able to journal, people who love the S-stroke but they cannot journal, to them I have one small request. Do it as an experiment. Do not leave your table for 10 minutes. So if you ask a question and if you wait it out for 1 minute and you're like, okay, now it will be a response, then nothing comes. Then you ask the question again and nothing comes. Then you ask the question again and you're still waiting. Now what happens after that? Now I have heard it from one person, but I have never come across somebody who has done this in 2 consecutive days. I've met a person who struggled for 1 day, but after that he figured it out. Now if you are the second person I'm speaking with and who is struggling with this process, I would switch off my phone or keep it aside, sit there with a timer for 10 minutes. When your mind knows that you're not going anywhere and there is no escape mechanism, there is no way of figuring this out later, it will respond. So our minds and our bodies are like kids. Sometimes we require to be slightly firm to discipline them. So if you're not firm and if you do not discipline your mind and your body, and that's why I keep speaking about this, you have to have physical regime, which we know and we believe in, and we do diet and we do workouts and we do so many things. but also you have to have mental vision. So people think that I require to look pretty so that I will become more presentable. Now after looking presentable, when people come and meet you and they discover the real person, don't you think that real person also require to be presentable? Which means, imagine, how these online calls are doing. People are wearing very good clothes on the top and they don't care what they're wearing at the bottom, or they don't care to iron things behind because they're like, nobody gonna watch anyways. Now there are other people who dress up well because they love to dress up well, and then the whole process is therapeutic, is fun for them, and they do it because they love that whole sense of it. Same thing is applicable with our behavior and our personalities. If we are only building personality so that in this frame that you can see I look pretty to you, then I am partially being nicer to myself. But if I realize that being this calmer person, being healthy mentally is my choice, and it is something that I'm really, really helpful towards myself when I do that, then you won't do it. Then you won't use a shortcut to only do things which other people care for. So you would be presentable in speaking, and you'll make sure that your writing is good and your pronunciations are good, because that may bring you embarrassment. Also you may sound very polite because that is expected out of you. But imagine feeling polite, feeling nurtured, feeling calm, feeling happy. Those moments are the moments we cherish more than the moments where we pretend to do all of these things, isn't it? I'm not saying we need not pretend. I know that there are moments when you require to. Sometimes you are in a social situation that is not fun, and you cannot tell the host or people around you that this is not fun and I can't handle it and I'm gonna go, bye-bye. That doesn't happen. So I agree that there is this so-called social politeness that is required. But only being socially polite without really feeling it, I feel there is a problem there. So we have to look at it and we have to address that problem. Okay? Now let's talk about the second part, which is my public image and my personal image has this gap. Now how far that gap should be? I agree there should be a gap, but how far that gap should be? So in handwriting, when I look at your signature speaks about your public image, and handwriting speaks about who you are. Now why is it so? Because when you were a child, you didn't have this public and personal image differentiation. But when you started going to school, and in your school, in front of your teachers, in front of your principal, in front of other people, you require to behave in a certain manner. You require to present yourself in a certain manner. And then at home you could do anything. Now that difference between being presentable and then doing anything, that difference started getting established. Now some people thought only looking presentable could be a great hack, and I did not do the work to feel that way. So if I look disciplined and if I get marks, perfect. I don't have to do all the work of being disciplined. As long as they see me disciplined, they give me marks, and that's perfect. Now that external gratification is how we built our societies, our thinking patterns, and constantly being result oriented became our way of thinking. Is it the correct way of thinking? It works for some people. But if you really want to find your way to feel calm, it may stand in your way. So the question is, are you clear whether it is standing in your way, or are you going with the flow and enjoying that? That is your choice. I am presenting an alternate thinking pattern. Okay, I'll come to that. But let me get back and complete this point of signature and handwriting. So when your signature is very, very different. Now guys, you don't require a graphologist to know this. When you write a sample and when you sign underneath that, you can look at it and you can know it for yourself. Your handwriting and your signature, if it is really, really different, if it feels like two people's handwriting samples, then you have a huge gap between who you are and how people perceive you to be. Let me repeat this. Not because they look at your signature, who you are and who people think you are. Now for anybody whose signature is very, very different from their handwriting, will face these two problems. First one, they will always be misunderstood by people. So imagine you wear a blue signal on your head, and anybody who's looking for blue color would come to you. They say, oh, blue color, and then they have whole blue conversation with you. And you're like, why are they speaking blue? Like, I don't understand this. I am pink, and why are they speaking blue with me? Now, they speak blue with you because you are wearing a blue color hat, which is your signature. So whatever they see you as, they come and connect with you for being blue. If you're pink inside and blue outside, which is like a different signature and very different persona, then there is a gap that you constantly have to fight, battle, and then people misunderstand you, they take a long time to understand you, and then one fine day they become your friends, if at all. Now, the second part of the point of having different signature than your handwriting talks about your struggle to constantly dress up, which means every time you step out of your house, you feel you require to behave in a certain way. Unfortunately, sometimes some people, when they get out of their bedroom, they have to do that. For some people, the very moment they wake up and they're surrounded by their spouse, they have to do it. So the degree with which you have to put up the mask changes. And by mask, I don't mean the corona mask in this case. By mask, I mean the whole mask that you require to wear to survive in interactions with other people. Now, that degree of gap between who you are and who people think you behave like, or who people perceive you to be, is a source of stress for many people, because they have to constantly do the bridging between these two personas pretty much. So do you have a split personality? No. It was your coping mechanism when you were a child, and you built that coping mechanism, but at some point that mechanism became you. So you wore the mask because you felt it is easier to deal with certain scenario. But over the years, that mask got stuck to your face, and now it has become your face, and you don't recognize that mask, but it was there and it stuck around, so you don't know where to go. That is a challenge. If that is happening, then there is a challenge. Okay? So look at your signature and your handwriting and know that for yourself. Now today's point. Today's point is about choosing a result or choosing a process. So what question do I want to ask you today? The question is, what process can you build to cultivate excellence right now? What process can you build to cultivate excellence right now? It is not building a process that will have sense of excellence after some time in the future. That excellence may come tomorrow, but the process can be built right now. Now, what do I mean by that? And let me go and speak about what is the process and what is result orientation, and we'll get to that. So when we start a race, whether it is a real running race or your race to be the best employee, or it's a rat race, any race that you begin. Race is based on, I am here wherever you are right now, and I have an objective in front of me. All I have to do is, in given period of time, I have to reach the end of it in the fastest possible manner. Great, but race doesn't end there. Race also has the second aspect, that I need to be faster than people around me. When your race is about, and there is no race if you are not constantly striving to be better than people around you. So the whole context of race is, I need to be my best, but the second part is, I need to be best but better than other people also. Then only I win, otherwise I am like one of those consolation prizes. And you know how all mothers frowned upon consolation prizes. So we don't want to be, only the participants. We really want to be the winners. Because only winners get noticed, only winners have value, only winners are celebrated. And that is bullshit. So when we are constantly dealing with goals which are oriented towards this idea of achieving something, we do not feel any excitement if the results are not promised on that journey. So imagine you're all excited to win this race, and you are geared up, you wake up 5 o'clock in the morning and you want to go, and you want to make sure you're imagining the trophy in your hand and you're all ready. And when you reach there, they announce that there is no trophy. Now you are excited about this race. You woke up and you can still give your best, but there is no trophy. Would you still feel like running? Your question. Some people may say, yes, I want to run because I love running. Some people may say, but there is no trophy. What's the point of wasting this time and energy? Some people may say, like, I never wanted to run. I was forced to run and now I'm here, so I might as well do it with complete withdrawal and complete lack of interest. So if any activity that you pick up and you think you have to drag your feet on that topic, in that activity, on that journey, then that is a great mechanism for you to know that you're not in it for sure. Now, one option is you quit and you pick up another activity. Second option is you gear up and you figure out what activity would you like to choose instead of this. Instead of wasting all your energy and lifetime dragging your feet on this topic, can you change it and figure out what process would you like? What would you like to do to begin with? So I know some people, like some actors, who love acting so much that they are like, when I am in the dressing room and when I am getting dressed up, I enjoy the process because I know it would lead to me performing. Now, imagine having that level of commitment. I know people, sports people, who really enjoy what they do, and all they want to do is be on the court. They want to play, they want to feel the emotions that they feel, and if they win, great. If they lose, they want to make sure that they had given their best shot. You live on that edge every time you work, every time you parent, every time you cook. Do you feel that sense of involvement? Because this is not about results, it's about involvement. It's about being so committed in the action that action is rewarding by itself. What did I just say? How is that even possible? Action is rewarding by itself? Yeah, so which means while you're cooking, which I know many of you are now, while you're cooking and when you're cutting the vegetables and you're making the whole recipe, and the food that you're making may turn out good or may not, depending on your experience, whether you get it right, your ingredients and you. But if you enjoy the process of cooking, if you enjoy the process of sorting things and making sure that you felt the moment, most of the time it doesn't matter. Now I know people who love going on drives. Now I was on a drive with a friend of mine, and the whole idea was to just drive, and she was driving so fast. I'm like, why are you driving? So in my mind I'm like, okay, you're on a drive, but she's driving like really cutting corners and making sure that she would get the next signal. I'm like, finally I couldn't stop myself. I'm like, where are we going right now? She's like, I don't know, wherever you want to go, we'll just drive around. I'm like, okay, but then let's drive around. Why are you rushing? And she started laughing. She's like, I am so used to driving like this because I drive to work every day, and I also come back, and that time also it's a traffic hour. So I'm so used to driving like this. You're right, we don't have to go anywhere and we can just drive and enjoy the conversation. And we laughed, and I teased her obviously for next 1 hour. But the idea is what I'm trying to say. So many times we forget that we are driving around, and we may also reach somewhere and grab an ice cream and enjoy that ice cream too. We just get so fixated about reaching that we do not end up enjoying any drive. Okay? Now I'm going to take a step deeper and speak about something that most of you may agree and some of you might not. But we are here to intervene and figure out different aspects, so I'm going to take that leap anyways. Okay? The point I'm trying to make is what if there are no wrong choices? What would you choose if there are no wrong choices, no wrong turns? And I'm also connecting this to the example I just gave. Imagine you're driving around and you get into a wrong lane. And you realize that's not the lane I wanted to be in, that wasn't the path my GPS was showing. So you turn around and then you come on the main road and then you drive again. And then you get somewhere else and you get lost. Now everywhere you go and everywhere you get lost, you just know that you are being part of this journey. But if you're driving around and if the joy is in driving, then it doesn't matter which turn you which path you chose, what exactly happened. All of these are just incidental things. But if you are committed, and I'm saying this very, very clearly, if you're committed to reach somewhere in the exact 3 minutes time, then you want to make sure that you do everything at your best and you let this reaching become your objective. Is it wrong? No, it's not wrong. It's just that at some point you will require to move to the journey more than the result. If you are at that point, do it today. If you think I need to fix some problems and I have to focus on results right now and then I can reach that point where I can focus on the journey, do that. But don't forget and don't take this whole process of goal-oriented behavior as the only behavior. Not having a choice that, we believe that, I'm achieving this, I'm achieving this, I'm achieving this. And actually this happened to me when I was, I started working when I was 19 as a professional graphologist. And I thought it would take few years for me to achieve whatever I had mentally imagined, mentally envisaged, all the goals that I had and all the lists that I had made. And I said, okay, one day I will have my own radio show. One day I will be, known as one of the best people in this field. One day I will be working with who's who. Now, by 25, whatever was my imagination, I'm not saying I achieved what I should have or what I could have, but whatever was my imagination, whatever little I had thought about this journey, I happened to achieve it. Now, I was 25, I still had all this fire in me and I had nowhere to go. I did not know what else I wanted. I knew that everything that I decided I wanted was achieved. I felt satisfied in all the journeys that I thought I wanted to achieve. And now here I was sitting and thinking, so what else? What's next? And in my field, I could not find what next. It was one of the toughest times for me because no matter how much I loved handwriting, it stopped giving me the joy that it gives me. And I had tasted that amazing flavor of how satisfying it can be. So when in the conversation I could not taste it, I could not feel it, I couldn't feel the connection, it was a very troubling issue. I'm like, I'm doing this work and I'm supposed to like it and this is the thing I'm passionate about, but I don't feel satisfied anymore. And I had nowhere to go because I had chalked all this path against so many people's advice and I was here completely invested with a team of 8 or 9 people then, and I'm like, whoa, I have no clue. I reached a point where I couldn't take it anymore and I took a sabbatical. Now, was it a mistake? I don't know. But in that sabbatical, I realized my fuel, my burning desire to move forward just gave up on me. I didn't give up on it, but it gave up on me because the results I thought I wanted to achieve were done. So then I'm like, oh, then what do I do to figure this space and what is next? What's next is you feeling involved in the process and slightly being independent of the results. In Sanskrit, you might have heard this line, karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. And it is not only the karma theory and all of that, but literally here if I look at it and I say, okay, I do the action, karmanya, which is like the action here, not the karma theory, but the action. I do the action without being invested in the outcome, and if I find my involvement, my connect, my satisfaction only in the fact that I am able to do it, it matters to me, and if that is my reward system, then I would not wait for tomorrow, for the results, for someone else to approve, for somebody to clap for me to feel good about the journey. Right? So if you are on the path where you're constantly waiting for other people to show up, other people to clap for you, other people to validate your journey, and then only you feel that you want to be part of this, then you are, that only means you are externally oriented. When nobody is watching, especially journaling, nobody is watching, you're doing it only for you. You're doing it because that process will nurture the person within. Now, when you're so used to running only for either the kites or running away from the dogs, if that's the only reason why you know how to run, then running for yourself would be very, very difficult. So, Again, this process is a great feedback mechanism. So this disinterest in doing the journaling, Mohit, also comes from the fact that you are not necessarily engaged in the process, but you are so used to, and not only journaling, in any walk of your life, you're so used to responding to things only when there are invested results promised. If the results are not promised, you're like, yeah, I want to do it, but I don't want to do it. If you feel that about relationship, then probably you're not in a relationship which you feel will nurture you in the future. Which also means that you're only thinking that I will be in this relationship if the outcome is promised, if the result is promised. And that is about the mindset and not about the relationship. With kids, people who are parenting a kid, or also have dependent people or plants or animal, they realize this, that you don't take care of a plant because it will give you something. It may have one season of blooming. It may also have fruits at time for those who have proper farms or gardens, but that's not the reason why you engage in the activity. You engage in the activity because taking care of your plants, of your pet, making sure that you behave the parent that you would like to be, is fulfilling as an action, not as a result. You don't take care of your child because one day your child will take care of you. It is a way, we're supposed to, and we grow, and whatever, they take care of you, and that's your responsibility, all of that. But in the moment, the joy is not about future planning. The joy is about enjoying the moment because the moment exists. Now I know so many people are in jobs and professions and occupations where they're doing things because they have to. They're doing things because the results are important, and the results that money actually helps them pay the bills and take care of things and all of that. And you can't switch all of it completely. Agreed? Point taken. But what if we don't try to completely switch it off? What if we take a moment and say, okay, I can't remove this thing which is not working right now, and I'm aware. For a change, I'm not denying, I'm aware that I am at a point where I do not have engagement with the activity I do. Now what do? I take a back seat. First thing I do is I add an hour or so of daily routine of feeling connected to myself in some other way. If I'm not, if the lunch was not, the quantity was not good enough for me, and if I'm still feeling hungry, I can once sit there and crib about, oh, I didn't have enough food and why it wasn't there. One choice. Second choice, I understand, okay, that is done now. Can I just have a snack, which will still fill my stomach now that I know that I'm still hungry. Now some people choose to sit there and remain hungry and be cranky and blame people who cooked food, and then get upset and feel resentful, and last time you had not cooked for me, and hold that against the same person. And some people look at it and say, okay, I was hungry and I didn't feel, and I'm upset with you, but I'm still hungry, so I'm going to go and figure out food. You get this point for food. The problem is we don't get this point for emotions. We don't get this point when we are emotionally feeling hungry or feeling that I'm not enjoying my process. Where do I get my nourishment or nurturing from? By creating a new door, by creating a new activity, by being disciplined about something that you really feel nurtured, or where you're in a flow, where you're running a marathon. References to previous calls and previous videos where I gave these examples at different points. So here we are looking at involving ourselves in an activity that, one, I like, so I added that. The second area is I don't like this and I have no connect with it. Now I don't have connect with it, but I have to do it. Aditi said in that call that don't do things which you have to do. Now how do I deal with this scenario? What do I do here? Now I have seen many people go through this, and I'm going to give you an experiment that you try whenever you think so. It's not part of our journaling program, but you can choose it whenever you like. Now when you pick up an activity that you feel very fulfilled and you feel in a flow and that is nurturing for you, chemically you get into a zone where you feel happier. Now most of the time when people feel happier, they experience enthusiasm slightly stronger than what they require to go around their everyday life. So enthusiasm that, just like they feel burst of enthusiasm. When you feel burst of enthusiasm, that is not necessarily confined to that one activity, but it starts spilling in other areas. So when you pick up a call after doing, for example, if you love to dance, and if you dedicatedly spend 1 hour dancing every day, then when you call somebody after that, you're like, how are you doing? And people are like, oh, somebody's in a good mood. Not because you're happy to speak to that person necessarily, but because that activity had such an impact that is not only filling your glass, but now you're overflowing. You're overflowing, and now it doesn't matter if you give that extra energy to a responsibility that you have picked up or a conversation and relationship. When you have this overflowing glass, we are more generous than before. Why it happens? Because we are not necessarily stuck about, I don't want to share things with you. We are stuck about, I don't want to share things with you when I have only 3 units of it. When I have 300 and I have more than enough, I want to give, and I want to make sure that you get it and that other person gets it and even neighbors get it, as long as I'm sure that I will be taken care of. Right? And this is where generosity becomes a way of living life, because it is not what you give me or what that relationship gives me or what that work gives me going to make me happy. My factory of happiness is already created. That machine which is independent of all of you guys, I dance, I figure it out. I write, I figure it out. I speak to you guys, and for me, I figure it out, because literally that machine has to be created. If you are lucky, your machine will become completely independent of people, outcome, times. It will just be independent of that. If you are still in between, then you may figure and use this machine and throw it in this activity. Use this machine and throw it in this relationship. That is also okay. The point is creating our machine and taking action for it. It is not thinking, but it is genuinely taking action to make sure that the machine works for you and you have the kind of enthusiasm required. Right? So over to you guys. Do ask me questions. Here we are. Okay, so I was able to do this for a week. I believe you're talking about an activity and then you snapped. Now, somebody told me long back that when you are passionate about something, then the act of being engaged in that activity is a privilege. And that's the privilege that you have. You have when you know that your work can create impact which is beyond you. Sometimes when we are doing things only with our selfish motives, only to validate our fears, only to do things to make sure that other people are like clapping for us, and when we are only limited to our little world, then it becomes difficult for us to experiment, to give away, to stay on the course. So the privilege is to be engaged in the activity that matters to you. Being engaged in the flow is a privilege. Now, I feel I don't have the liberty of not being on this path, because being on this path is so tasty. So if you have a choice between eating this amazing meal versus eating something that you don't like, which is like, okay, whatever, what would you choose? I would choose something that I can savor every day and jump in and grab and enjoy. Now, if that is the connect you have with that relationship, that work that you do, the flow that you have chosen in any assignment that you have picked up, then staying away from it is more painful than doing the activity. So, no matter how many hours we put at this work, when we see the impact that you guys are going through, now that makes it worth all the efforts. And I'm not saying it for the effect, I genuinely mean it. Now, at 1 o'clock in the night, if you're like responding to some email, you're figuring some format out, because I know that Priya will see that email tomorrow, and when she goes through it, it will give her the relief that she was looking for. And if that matters to me, I would feel enthusiastic to do it. But if I know that I'm doing it because Priya may think that how cool Aditi is, and then I would tell myself, yeah, okay, she must think that way. Then I'm like, yeah, what if she doesn't think? Then you're like, yeah, true, we don't have any control over it. then I may drift away and I would not feel like doing the same action with equal amount of involvement. So it also happens to me. I was talking to somebody doing handwriting session just before the call, and I gave this example that there are moments where my dyslexia just triggers, and if I am at a party in a social situation where I want to look cool and sound cool, and I want people to like value me or for whatever reason, because my self-esteem is very low that day, that time if I fumble, or if I mispronounce something, or if I construct my sentence in a wrong manner, I just feel conscious. But if I'm talking to you guys, if I'm talking in a session, if I'm addressing a large crowd, and if I fumble, I go like, okay guys, sorry, I didn't mean that, but let me just tell you what I meant, and I jump in and start the conversation all over again. Because it's not about me saying it right or what you think about me, but it's about you hearing the point which will make a difference. Now, when we are connected to our objectives in life, to our work, to our everyday, mental wellness, because that can contribute, suddenly there is a larger purpose that takes over. And it takes over. It's not what you figure it out. It takes over. I can only tell you, I can only invite you guys to experience it for yourself, because it is fascinating. And days where what I was narrating, where I did not feel that joy with handwriting, that phase where I went through a sabbatical, that time, meeting one person, speaking with one person, or answering this question, how does handwriting work, used to be so difficult. I used to feel furious. I used to tell people, one more time if somebody asks me how handwriting works, probably I will punch the person, because I was so disconnected. The day I came back into the zone and I started feeling the privilege of being here and doing what I do, now it doesn't feel bothersome. So it's not only about the action that you're feeling snapped out of. I feel it is the action, which is the term called motive. If the motive behind the action is about validation or running away from some fear, then you will snap out of it. But if it is about savoring and enjoying the process by itself, then you cannot stop it, and it has to happen so that you can savor it, and it will be so much of fun. Harsh is saying, could you suggest some good pen? Any ballpoint pen. If you use a ballpoint pen that leaves the ink dots, that won't be a good idea, because it would alter your pressure, and it would alter the way you write. So I would suggest pick a pen which will not leave those threads or those ink dot behind. But also don't use like 0.5 or 0.3, because it's really pointed. It cuts through your page. So you can use any 0.5 onwards. So 0.5, 0.7, 1 is perfect ballpoint size for you to choose. Sorry, please ignore. I've answered it already, Harsh. Okay. Harsh is asking, sorry you find this silly. I am more like kinesthetic. I love writing. I could, if you could suggest some good pen to write with. Again, I think I did already. But I would not recommend any brand as such, because I don't have such preference as of now. Manpreet is saying, can one do journaling every time one starts to overthink? Interesting question. Thank you for it. Can you journal every time? I would say no, because ideally this shouldn't be a process that you're dependent on. Imagine you're in the situation, you're overthinking, and you're like, where is my journal? I couldn't stop overthinking because I didn't have my journal with me. We don't want to get to that point. But imagine having journaling as a go-to mechanism, which means every day I journal for 20 minutes, and I know that if something is bothering me, I can journal it tomorrow. So I can keep that thought, and I can tell myself that, okay, when you journal. Having said that, if you're in this quarantine, if you're dealing with something that you feel you can't stop overthinking, the example that I gave you in the morning when I was feeling, the example that I gave you just now about my morning session where I was feeling overwhelmed, I took a moment and I pulled my diary and I journaled. Now, can you use that as a thinking mechanism? Yes, you can. But I would say first cultivate it as your daily mechanism, so that you know that is a platform that I can go to and I can think. Also, I believe you guys would have heard this delayed gratification and instant gratification. Many social media conversations are about, oh, you need to have instant gratification so that people, give you thumbs up, they like, they share, all of that. Now, we have started thinking in instant gratification. Anything, any activity that can show you results tomorrow or after a period of time, we don't want to be a part of it because we are constantly focused on instantly gratifying it. Right now, in this moment, I can't stop it. Now, if you're doing it, there is a problem. If you're doing it, there is a challenge. The challenge is that if you don't get gratified immediately, if you don't get gratified in the manner you had decided, then you will not feel the enjoyment in the act of doing it. Going back to the process and result. Now, most of the time people want to get the results right now, and that's why they just hold on to the instant gratification. So read about delayed gratification, read about how many achievers worked every day, gave 3 hours a day, 5 hours a day, 10 hours a day, depending on what skill they were building. And when they kept doing, when they were at it, one fine day they became magical. Now, you can go through that grind only when every session of that grind is enjoyable for you. So if you have a large goal, long-term goal that you want to achieve, and you know that you are in the process, in this moment it might not be fun. In this moment it might not feel like something that you're thoroughly enjoying. But if you know the impact it will have on your and others' life, and if it matters to you, you will feel the connection to go about this journey. Priya is asking, what about creating gap between, this was about creating gap between trigger and reaction. Okay, so I think I have covered all the questions, and here we are on the second last day of our journaling workshop. So tomorrow is the last day. So if you guys, if you have questions that I haven't answered, if you have new questions that you think I need to answer, please send it to me. Please send everything possible so that we can look at it, we can answer it. We are thinking of keeping this conversation on by having some Q&A sessions or some conversations after this. Tomorrow I'm going to cover how can you journal after the workshop is over, and what will you journal about, how can you enhance the takeaways, what exactly would happen. Let me take Priya's point about not aspiring about the result, then what about having clarity of vision? Again, great question, thank you so much. Now when I have clarity of vision, now for some people that is about reaching a particular task, a particular goal, a particular destination. I think I personally do not believe in that. I feel if I am committed, so that is no matter how glorified that vision is, one fine day achieving that goal is the only way I'm going to be happy, then there is a problem. But if the clarity about is a guiding tool, that me reaching there will allow me to do what I require to do, then that vision can actually help me stay connected to the process. At the end, you're saying the same thing from two different angles. You're saying if I have clarity about the vision, then it helps me stay put, stay engaged, stay involved in the process right now. I'm saying the same thing. I'm saying stay engaged and involved in the process right now, and have slight clarity about the vision, but stay engaged and involved in the process right now. For some people, the goal, achieving that goal is the only way they can stay put. I'm saying, can we question that as the only choice? You may have vision and you may feel connected, great, but tomorrow you may wake up and you might have either achieved that goal, or you would have failed at that goal, or if one fine day that goal doesn't mean anything for you, then what would you do? That vision, if it is fulfilled, then what would you wake up and work for? But if you understand that my connection with my process is the relationship that I require to nurture, then your vision completes. You still work at the same field. If it does not complete, you're still working at the same engagement, because the act itself is the satisfying factor. I would love you guys to ponder about this. I can't tell you how beautiful this concept is, and this is more of an Eastern concept. When we operate from a result orientation, it's a Western concept. In Eastern philosophy, it's not only Indian philosophy, but also in Japanese technique, they speak about ikigai. Ikigai is known as the reason to get out of your bed every morning and work at excellence, no matter what it looks like. It is one of my favorite books by the author called Ken Mogi. There are many books on Ikigai by the name Ikigai, but Ken Mogi was the first TED Talk speaker who introduced the idea of Ikigai to the Western world. I really like his book. I find it slightly rational, but I like it. But you can also explore other authors or read about it. But Ikigai, one of the examples I remember and it really stood out for me, was a guy who makes sushi. And he's been making sushis for all his life. Every morning he wakes up and he goes out and he picks up the perfect fish that is available for the day. He comes and he makes sushi for like 5 tables in his restaurant. And when Barack Obama visited Japan, he went and he visited that one restaurant. That was the only meal he requested outside all the formal meals that he had had. So why did he do that? Because this guy is outstanding. His restaurant is called Jiro Sushi, and there's a Netflix documentary on his work. You can check out Jiro Sushi. Now, why am I giving this example? Because this guy every day worked at the excellence of getting his sushi in the best possible manner. Best possible manner depending on the fish that was available, depending on what he thought was correct for the day, but best possible manner. So when your process, when your action becomes your sadhana, when that becomes the journey that you're committed to, the results follow. And most of the time the results follow which are way beyond your imagination. But they can follow when you are leading the path by doing the sadhana, by being in the process. If you are not leading the path, then results won't follow. And this is where the challenge lies. So guys, that is a conversation for today. Get your questions. If you're new on the journey, just make sure that you get all your S practices, which means your flow of thought stroke, checked with us. Send it on Instagram DM so that we can check your S practice. And even if you're doing this course in the future, do send your S practice on the Insta page so that we can go through it and we can give you feedback. Do not practice wrong stroke. We have created a mechanism for you to be in the flow and figure it out for yourself, and that would be something that we would love to do. So there is a mechanism available, so you make use of it. Priya is saying vision, mission, goal, strategy has been hammered into us for all our life. I agree, and I feel so many times I call this work the movement, because this is the movement of getting out of these dogs which are constantly running behind us, and how we are taught to only achieve things which are beneficial and only result oriented. And today when we are in the lockdown, stuck here, you know that we cannot thank the realizations enough that all we require is our connect with ourselves to feel happy. No matter what you have, no matter where you are, no matter who are you stuck with, it doesn't matter after a point. If you don't like the person you're stuck with, mainly yourself, if you don't enjoy the company of this person, then it is very difficult for you to move forward. And this is a great point to realize these moments. So I am so happy that we are stuck in quarantine and thinking about it, because this is where we break the conditioning of only running behind the results. Priya is saying you have been successful in altering my thought process. Thank you, Priya. Thank you so much. Harsh is asking name of the Insta page, please. It is Aditi Surana, the page that you're watching this live on. You can write to the Insta DM messages of this Insta page. Today, my new episode of Absolutely Right, which is my podcast, but the new episode is out, which is actually on journaling. I speak about quarantine and journaling together. So if you want to share it with somebody, and also guys, if you have gone through a process that has altered something for you, please give us your feedback. We are pitching to have larger platforms on which we can speak with people so that we can teach them journaling and give them these resources in Marathi and Hindi also, because these are other two languages I speak. So if we have to go and collaborate with somebody, and we can reach out to more people who can try these resources in this period, we are up and open for it. So please write your feedback, and if you find any probable connection that can help, do send it to us and we can speak to those people. So Pamela is saying peace of mind is the goal, but it isn't easy. How can journaling bring peace of mind? Does putting things in writing make them easier to overcome and solve? So first of all, the S stroke that we are talking about fundamentally creates the elongation of your attention. So many times we don't feel peace of mind because we move from one thing to another, jump from one area to another, and that constant multitasking which we are gratified for, we believe is the way to go about it. All of us, we are driving and then we are on the phone on our Bluetooth, and we are also grabbing our breakfast. We are doing so many things together. Now, peace of mind while doing too many things together can only happen when you are in a Zen mode or when you are lying to yourself. The actual way of finding peace of mind is to have a breather that allows you to engage with every activity. Now, what I'm saying, you're in Zen mode. In Zen mode, people have shown this ability to connect to multiple things with equal amount of intensity. But you have to find that involvement with different things. Now, most of us cannot do it. So what do? You not only slow down, and that doesn't help, because if the mind is pacing, slowing down doesn't help. So here we are using our body, and with the help of the stroke, we are allowing our mind to have longer breath and actually create a platform which can help us calm down. And when that happens, even for 20 minutes, 10 minutes, it allows our body to have one more possibility of feeling calm. 24 hours of feeling jittery does not allow any possibility to feel calmer. But if you have, say, 18 hours of feeling jittery and even 20 minutes, your mind knows that it wants to feel calmer, and it starts finding excuses to tap into this, because the nature of a seed is to grow. The nature of a mind to settle. We feel mind is a monkey mind, most of the time, yes, but not by the nature of it. If you really, like I do a lot of silence retreats and silence observation, after some time your mind starts settling down and it wants to stay put. Now, I didn't expect that to happen. I thought, oh my god, whole day you don't speak to anybody, what's going to happen, chapad. But that didn't happen. After some time, it started settling down, and that, to my surprise, I realized the nature of the mind is to stay calm. It's not to be jittery. So monkey minds are more famous than the settled minds, because monkey minds are more populated than the settled minds. Okay, so stay in the process. So this is not only journaling, but it is doing the practice and then writing. That allows you to have the calmness. Okay. Now, Harsh is saying, I'm already following you. Okay, great. Rachana is saying, I agree with Priya 100%. Perfect. Rashi has given a podcast link for you guys. Richa is saying, new here. So after we answer the stroke of flow of thoughts of the question of the day. Yes, first flow of thoughts and then the question of the day. We also write the words on the question and send it to you. No, the DM is open for the entire team. So do not send me the responses of your journaling question. It is a personal information and I don't want anybody to read that. It is for you. So even if you send a photograph, some people do it beautifully. They tag me, but they cover the page which is their response of the journaling. But they hold on to only one side of the page where they have done SS stroke. So that is perfect. So if you're doing the calming stroke, that is absolutely fine. And stay in this, and tomorrow when we connect, I will speak about how can you continue journaling and how can you take this process ahead. Till then, happy writing and enjoy yourself. Bye-bye.